Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called It a Safe Bet, written by TerranOnAir. It was a safe bet. That's what my family told me. Far away from the walls of the Ginnel Coalition and the Harvard Empire. That's where I would be. I became an engineer and worked for some delivery company, transporting our supply between our allies set in off-world colonies. We weren't a munitions company. We didn't distribute personal armor devices either. There was no reason for anyone to target us, and it was a comfortable living. The most dangerous times were when the pilot had no choice but to try and make his way through an asteroid field in order for us to get a delivery on time. It's on one of those times that I now speak. My blue tail was digging through a toolbox as I worked on some of the safeguards for the cargo holding area. The ship was an older model, and it was hard to get all the parts shipped where we needed on time. Those damn crates kept wanting to slide their way out, so I decided to jerry-rig them damn thing to hold them in place. The ship rocked and swayed, but the anti-grav units were an old, sturdy type that wasn't at all like those newer types that break on impact. I took a plasma cutter and cut a metal piece down to size, then fixed it to the maglock. That should have done it. I got the pilot on comms. She was an irritable insectoid with yellow fur and black chitin, and we had become pretty good friends in the time that I had been on with the company. "Hey, Rel," I said as soon as the comms came up. "I'm done in the cargo area. I'll be going on break, so I'll come up with something in coffee." She didn't say anything. Her eyes were fixated on something off screen from the Hollywood. "Rule?" "Oh, hi, Nurka. There's a thing out there," she finally replied, not really wanting to be distracted from whatever was in front of her. "Weird thing?" I asked. "Oh, yeah. Here, take a look." She turned to the screen so I could see the outside of the cockpit. She was right. There was something out there. It was on the side of an asteroid. Weird. As the asteroid turned in its rotation, I could start to get a better look at it. It looked like an old mining pod. Industrial strength, which meant that it was durable. Those old things could hold a crew of 4, had extra breathing supplies. This one had some extra stuff on top. It looked like, something like a series of maglocks and a rig for sealant. Oh no. It was the last thought I had before that thing detached and stuck itself to the underbelly of our ship. "Real!" I screamed. "Punch it! We have to get out of here!" The ship moved faster than a Wollenzer in heat, but that didn't mean much. They were already on board, and several loud noises throughout the ship's hull suggested that more of the things were attaching themselves and cutting their way through. Several of us started to run to the head of the ship. We didn't have much security, and the ones we did have weren't where we were. We moved. We moved, and I could see sparks. We moved, and I could see red lines, the telltale signs of cutters making their way through. Then, as we were nearing the bridge, a door-sized piece of metal fell to the ground. I stopped for just a few seconds, my brain telling me that we should be getting sucked out into space. Whoever they were already applied a sealant, but panic was throwing me off. That's when I saw the door to the pod open. Inside, there was a creature in tight-fitting black with a glossy black helmet. In its hands, flashing something like an axe. It, too, was a plasma cutter. Rather, whoever the bipedal was had managed to turn a series of plasma cutters into a large two-handed cutting weapon. It wasn't a plasma cutter, it was a plasma axe. I could almost see its horrible forward-facing eyes through its black helmet. The word hit me with forceful recognition as it dawned on me just what kind of creature would have such a battle-ready form mixed with such a brutal ingenuity. My chest started to seize up as I thought the word human. In my language, it sounded almost like the word for death or eaten. They were newer to the galactic scene, only having a few planets to their name, but every other race learned quickly to leave the humans to their own devices. It was making a noise. It was making a noise that reminded me of panicked, fear-rattled brain to get my legs moving. Through a distorted translator, it sounded like laughter. My legs carried me through the bridge. They were on the bridge. My legs carried me past the ventilation systems. They popped out of the ventilation systems. They were everywhere, breaking the lights and chasing my crew members like it was some kind of game to them. I finally managed to see some security team trying to make a defensive perimeter. Energy shots lit up the dark hallway behind me as they tried to gun down our assailants. That's when it happened. One of their axes soared past me and struck a security officer's gun with a pinpoint accuracy. I could hear a cheer of more laughter from the darkness behind me. That could have killed me. They could have killed me at any point, they just didn't feel like it. My feet slowed to a halt as I swallowed deeply. I turned around and faced the darkness. The sound of heavy footsteps pervaded the area. Not a single security officer had the courage to fire another shot after witnessing that. I was shaking. My people were evolved from a prey species. Theirs was supposedly from a predator species. I had heard before that they cooked their meals over an open fire. Was that why they were here? Was that going to be me? Over the translator, I heard something that sounded like 3, 2, 1. Then they all turned out their cutting weapons. The darkness was suddenly illuminated by what might have been 100 humans in black gear with plasma melee weapons, and they had already proven themselves to be more than accurate when throwing them. I didn't move. I didn't dare move. They were huge. Their stamina was unparalleled. They didn't overheat like the rest of the species. They were born in a death world where everything wanted to kill everything else. More than that, they were the conquerors of their death world. There was a long silence that held in the air, save for the whimpering and sobbing heard by many of my crewmates. I couldn't blame them. Then the human in front of the pack spoke in a horrid guttural tone that called out for all of our translators at once. Ohana means family. You give us candy. With my eyes split wide open and my heart racing, the only thing I could manage to say was, huh? The human looked at one of his companions, then the other. Then he started tapping at the side of his helmet, and he spoke again. Mohana means family. You give us candy. I started to realize what they wanted, what they were here for, as the laughter erupted from them. To my crew, there was an obvious tension in the air. To them, this was like a game. They were here for our cargo. I can take you to it, I spoke, shuddering. I can take you to the cargo, just don't hurt anyone else. The humans looked at each other. Some were stretching to get a view behind the tribesmen. Then the one at the head, the one with the biggest axe, said, Okay. It took me a long moment. I looked back at my crew. Don't worry, everything is going to be okay, I tried to reassure them. But my tail was twitching and my shoulders were snumbed. No one was going to believe me. I didn't even believe myself. I made my way past the predators and moved through their crowd. Their eyes were fixated on me. Some of them were talking, and my translator wasn't picking it all up. I could mostly just hear that insidious laughter. Our way was only illuminated by their cutters. They took out all the lights. I guess they liked the cover of darkness. Or maybe they just thought it was fun to break stuff. I finally made my way past them all. We finally made our way to the cargo bay. I undid the maglock I had worked on just moments ago, and as I did, the humans rushed past me and leapt onto the boxes, opening them up to see what was inside. Sure enough, there was candy, lots of candy. In fact, there were over 500 crates of candy, all from the candy company we worked for. They were all going to go to the humans in a bid for our lives. At least, that's what I thought. The humans did take the candy, just not all of it. Out of all the 500 crates that we had, we lost about 8. Their leader stood beside me with his axe resting on his shoulder. He was menacing as he watched his people make off with our shipment. When they were done loading the boxes into pods, he looked down at me and pet the blue fur on my head. I didn't make a move. Then he handed me a disposable crate chip. Later, I would find out that it had enough money on it to cover not only the pilfered goods, but all of the damages sustained. They left. When they did, their seeming leader looked back at me, and I was looking at the cred chip in bewilderment, and he simply said, "Thank yous for donation." I stood there, flabbergasted. When they were gone, I ran all the way back to my crew. As it turned out, no one was dead like we all thought. In fact, there were barely any injuries sustained, save for the few scratches and some bruising from running into things while trying to get away from the humans. To this day, I still don't understand what happened, but I'll tell you this. I'm never working for that damn candy company again. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.